Welcome to Peninsula Backstage, the show that looks inside local live theater and talks about upcoming productions that you can go see. I'm Nina Perry, and I'm your host. The Legend of the White Snake is a Chinese folktale about a snake spirit who takes the shape of a beautiful woman in order to experience the human world. The story has been told in many forms over the years, including by Tony Award winner Mary Zimmerman, whose adaptation of it is called The White Snake. Silicon Valley Shakespeare is performing The White Snake from August 2nd through September 1st at Sanborn Park in Saratoga. Today on Peninsula Backstage, we'll be talking with Angie Higgins, director of The White Snake and artistic director of Silicon Valley Shakespeare, Melissa Jones, who is playing the role of White Snake, and Evelyn Huynh, who is playing the role of Green Snake. Angie and Evelyn and Melissa, welcome to Peninsula Backstage.
Hi, Nina.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being here. So Angie, without giving too much away, tell us about The White Snake.
Absolutely. Well, The White Snake is a tale of romance, and the White Snake has been cultivating for over 1,000 years on top of a mountain in the ways of the Tao to find enlightenment. But she wants to be a part of the human world, very much like other folk tales that you might be familiar with, such as The Little Mermaid and others. And her best friend, Green Snake, being so enlightened, can turn themselves into beautiful young maidens, go down the mountain, and she falls in love with a young man named Huynh, who she is actually connected to from another lifetime. And I won't give away how, so our viewers can come to the show and find out more about the story, but it is a beautiful tale of love and acceptance, I'll say, and it has a very hopeful message, I think.
Very nice. How did you first become familiar with the play, and how did you decide to include it in your season this year?
So I'm a very big Mary Zimmerman fan, and fortunately for us, Berkeley Rep often produces her shows. The original production will come touring through Berkeley Rep, and The White Snake was actually a gift to me by my husband. He knows what I like, and so he got me tickets to The White Snake, and we've seen other Mary Zimmerman plays, Secret in the Wings, Arabian Nights, and Metamorphoses was recently done there. And I saw it there and fell in love with it, and it just so happens that this season for Silicon Valley Shakespeare, our theme is Believe in Magic. So we did an all-female Midsummer Night's Dream with fairies, the deliciously wicked Macbeth, Something Wicked This Way Comes, with witches, of course, so the magic theme continues, and we always do one non-Shakespeare every season to give our viewers variety, and what better way to give them some variety and magic at the same time, but with some ancient spirits. So it fit our theme, and I felt it was also very on mission for us, being a company that, you know, we are all about innovating the classics, and this doesn't get much more classic being over 1,400 years old. Right. This legend, right? The earliest written version is around 618 CE. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, you know, we're often telling people, you know, Shakespeare is still very relevant today, right? His themes, and that's why it's important that we produce it. So this story is absolutely in line with that mission. Yeah.
Okay, great. So Evelyn, what drew you to this material?
So I'll be honest, I knew of the legend of the White Snake in general, just as a folktale, kind of heard, you know, from my childhood, but I didn't know about the play at all until Angie had mentioned it, and she and I have a long history. So we went to college together, you know, we've done theater together, and she had told me about it and, you know, kind of and talked about, you know, the different characters that were there, and so this was a very intriguing opportunity. I don't typically act, so this was a little bit...
She's modest.
I choose not to, right? Like, so, I mean, it's a big responsibility, and I respect that actors can do that, you know, season over season, and for me, I'm just like, oh, I like just vegging and watching television sometimes, you know, it's just nice. But, you know, just the sort of the feel of this particular play, and then having it in the hands of someone like Angie, who I like deeply respect as a director and a friend, of course. I just felt like there was so much potential for it to be a real standout and be very different as far as like a unique theater experience that I probably will never get again in my lifetime. Because again, I don't typically act, right? So, so I kind of just took that bold leap and decided, sure, let's give it a shot and see what happens.
All right, all right. And Melissa, what appeals to you most about this play?
Oh,
What's one of the things that appeals to you?
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I think that for me personally, having it be a story from a non-European viewpoint. I'm Chinese, so this is our first non-European classic that we're producing. It's incredibly meaningful for me. When I found out that we were producing it, I was really excited because I was familiar with the show. I hadn't seen it, but I knew of it. The actor who originated the role is someone who I admire greatly from her work with Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And then I wanted to be a part of the show in any capacity, and it meant a lot to me that we were elevating voices that don't often get a lot of airtime. And actors, designers, stories from different cultural standpoints was really important to me.
Okay. So let's talk about how the tone and rhythm of this play is different from what is out there from a more European tradition.
Sure. I think, well, Mary Zimmerman's style, I think, in script calls for very creative storytelling, right? This is not your, we were saying, traditional Americana, one-unit set, realism, right? We are asking our audience to go on a journey with us, right, and use their imagination. So I think the storytelling really harkens back to an older style of oral tradition, right? And you'll actually have narrators speaking directly to you. Some say, others say, right? And then you have a prop that is asking you to really look into your mind's eye, where a row of parasols could become a snake, right? And the parasol could become a moon. A piece of cloth could become a mountain, right? Or a cloud, which I think is very beautiful. And that's inherent in all of Mary Zimmerman's scripts, which is another reason why I'm a huge fan of hers, because I think it has this simplistic yet gorgeous theatricality that is really, it's asking to have a relationship with the audience, right? It's not just about what we're doing, it's we're inviting them, right? The opening, believe me, right? It's inviting you in, like, come with me on this magical ride, with these characters. And I think because it's this amazing, a legend that's really lasted through time, many versions of this tale, that's for a reason. And I think because it is this older tale, it lends itself to that style of theater. So maybe you can add on. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, it reminds me a lot of a Greek tragedy in a way, where you've got a chorus that is kind of speaking the thoughts that the audience may also have, but also speaking in some way to what's happening on stage with the main characters. And so the chorus, or our narrators, act as a bridge between the audience and some of the named characters, basically, both visually as well as in the text that they speak to.
Right.
And this play also, so this story has evolved over the centuries. There are a lot of different versions of the stories. In some older versions, the White Snake was actually a demon, and she was the villain of the story. And there's a monk, Huynh, who is saving Xuxian, the lead guy, from the evil clutches of the demon. And over time, the story has evolved to kind of reflect a change of values, I think, in society. And now the prevailing version is the one where the White Snake and Xuxian are actually in love with each other, like genuinely in love, and Huynh becomes the villain. So I think that also speaks to the evolution of how a story may start in one place, and over time it can change to reflect the values of a culture or of society.
It's just so interesting to think about how there are these same core characters and there are same core, plot points, and yet you can kind of plug them in and have them play out different ways throughout time and throughout, different, versions of the story. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
Great. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about the visual aspects of the show, specifically the costumes. So we have first a photograph that our folks in the control room can put up, and it's a publicity photograph of Melissa and Evelyn in costume. And this photo was taken by Christian
Pizziarani.
Thank you. And it shows Evelyn in green garb because of your green snake character, and Melissa in white. So, so tell us, Angie, about how these costumes sort of represent, or maybe they will evolve, and you have some drawings.
Yes, they will evolve as many theaters promo shots, right? You know, pull what's available, but they will be very similar in style, and they are fashioned to be set in the Tang Dynasty, which is one of the golden ages of China, and also the period where the story was really, written down and more prevalent. It's lush, it's beautiful, the arts were flourishing in that time, so it's very fitting. Our costume designer, Lisa Claybaugh, who is working at many companies around the area and just designed a Midsummer Night's Dream for us too. She did these renderings and will be building a lot of the pieces. So, being that it's in an ancient, Chinese dynasty, there aren't a ton of places to just pull from if you want them to look the way you would like. So she got her inspiration definitely from historical, and then adding a bit of whimsy to it. So color scheme for the ensemble, things definitely taking some license with that. But right, White Snake, her fancy garb, and then we have. Here's Evelyn, Greenie.
Green
Snake is called a Greenie for short. She's adorable. And we go to her fancy.
Beautiful.
I mean, you get to turn into a human, you have to get fancy.
Well, right.
And here's an example of the men's costumes. Here's our Li Shu Xian.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And so she's, again, building a lot of the coats and the skirts, to be appropriate for stage. Also, sometimes the things you pull, right, might not be fitting for movement, and there is a lot of movement in our show. There's a lot of choreography, right? So.
Okay, great. Speaking of choreography, we also have a photograph of Evelyn and Melissa working with the snake puppets. So, tell us. Did you make these yourselves? Did someone make them for you?
Someone did make it for us. These were our rehearsal snakes, but you're gonna get to see one of ours that we made.
Good.
So our assistant director, Tom Shamrell, also made our snake puppets by hand, which was challenging. He also happens to be my husband. We get prop favors. So the living room has been a puppet shop. We're calling him Geppetto now. But it's been a fun journey to, create this. Obviously, there are no instructions out there how to make this special type of snake puppet, but, it's a dryer vent and silk material and buttons and all, bamboo sticks and all sorts of fun materials going into that to create a piece that really is able to show the transformative nature in the show, right? So this is mainly at the beginning of the production and a few key moments when they turn back into snakes. But the majority of the play, they are young, lovely ladies, as you see before you. But the snakes are utilized in a creative way.
Okay, I think we should take a look at that because our lovely ladies have one of the snake puppets and a parasol. So we're going to excuse Evelyn and Melissa to go get set on our stage where they're going to show us a little bit and tell us a little bit. So yes, please proceed. And in the meantime, Angie, we want to clarify that the props are not in use all the time. So the snakes are not always throughout the show represented by the puppets.
That's true. The White Snake is not necessarily a puppet show. It is a very beautifully creative production that utilizes the puppets in a few scenes, which I think really helps our audience to grab their imagination early on. And then, of course, they're set aside. But, for example, the parasol that you're going to see, there is this beautiful imagery of a parasol train at one moment with some live singing to, create that image in your mind's eye of this large snake spirit.
Okay, great. Let's watch.
So I have here a parasol that is used as a parasol sometimes. We have some eyes, though, painted on here when it's used as a puppet. So the character here means to understand or knowledge, enlightenment. And there's also a green one for Greenie, which means loyalty because that reflects her character. So when it's used as a puppet to show Whitesnake's large form, I have to make sure to keep it alive and let it breathe a little bit, let it lead with the movement. And there might be a large train of parasols behind me showing a gigantic body of a snake, or I might just use it by itself. These are used in select moments to show when the snakes are in human form or in different snake forms in different sizes. We also have puppet forms of the snakes too.
So this is Greenie. She is stuffed with, you know, batting and air vent. You know, Tom did a wonderful job. And she, much like the parasol, also needs to have life in her. So slight movements of the head, just give her a little bit of extra life. And there's also tail movement. She has a wonderful flick to her tail here. She can glide across, right? She can also find herself very cultivated. And she can also, you know, be excited to see her friend who comes in to visit her, right? And say hello. Right? And then she can also be a little shy, not typically, but when she is, a little embarrassed.
Oh. Oh. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa and Evelyn, for giving us a sneak peek into how Greenie and Whitesnake are going to be represented, at least in part, on the stage.
Yeah, we were very lucky to have Alika Spencer from Dragon Theater Productions actually come in and help give the ladies a workshop on handling the puppets. She has a lot of experience and gave us some great tips.
Okay, wonderful, great. So now let's move off the visual and talk a little bit about the sound and the music in the play.
Yes, we're very fortunate to have an original composer working with us at Silicon Valley Shakespeare, Phil Surtees. He's been composing for us for a few seasons now, and this show heavily relies on underscore for many scenes. In fact, some of the characters actually have their own theme. Going throughout, Whitesnake definitely has a theme, as does our villain, Fa Hai. So, you know, every time he comes back, it's in this subtle way, but I think it definitely helps set the mood. And there's one character who actually doesn't have any lines in the show, but it's the personification of doubt. And so this character, Doubt, has these long gold nails and might scratch at your neck, right? When you feel that chill coming to you of doubt, and there's this underlying theme in the score. There also are quite a few songs in this show. So the composition for that was all original as well by him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wonderful.
So
Great.
we're very excited to have him working with us.
Yes, great. Let's talk a little bit about the performance space at Sanborn Park. So tell us about what it's like to perform outdoors and how it's different from indoors.
Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I love it. So I've been with the company since 2006. So this will be I think my 21st production there. Yeah, and I love Sanborn because you're in a redwood grove, so it's beautiful. You are part of the elements. There's something different about being in the audience and sitting in a space that's outdoors with other people than indoors. And as an actor, there are other natural elements that you have to contend with. We have a beautiful creek that runs alongside the audience, and some seasons it's very loud, and some seasons it's very quiet. But I feel more present, I guess is the only way to put it, because when you're in a theater, you have this enclosed space, and it becomes kind of a black box, right? Literally. Whereas in a theater that's outdoors, because you have to contend with those natural elements, you have to be able to be present and be flexible and make adjustments if needed. Sometimes there might be a bug that flies in your face, and how do you react to that? Do you acknowledge it or not?
Greenie would eat it.
Greenie would eat it.
And she does.
Well, we have a few photographs of previous productions at Sanborn Park. So if our control room folks could put up one of those. The first one is Hamlet.
Yes, this is one of my favorites.
Okay.
I'm a little biased because this was my baby. This was an all-female production, so this is showing one of the fight scenes. Yeah, Laertes and Hamlet, and Melissa's over there on a throne, back there in the purple as Gertrude. Yeah, that was.
And this photo was taken by Evelyn. Thank you. And Evelyn took the next photo as well.
Yeah.
And this is Hamlet again.
Yes, this is Hamlet. There was a modern dance element to that show. So Whitesnake is not the first show we've done with quite a lot of choreography and movement. That was part of the concept in this very abstract world where they got to dance out their feelings, which was a lot of fun. It was a great experiment that I think a lot of people enjoyed. Yeah.
Okay, great. And this next one is The Hood of Sherwood by Doug Brooke.
Yes.
An original work commissioned by
That is
Silicon Valley
correct, yes. That is a show that we commissioned and workshopped through a stage reading process. You know, keeping with our mission to innovate the classics, taking the tale of Robin Hood and putting a new spin on it. And, you know, he really harkened back to the original stories. The Robin Hood, you know, from the cartoon, Oodalali, is not, you know, the source material. And he did an excellent job, I think, of doing a lot of research on the original stories and incorporating those elements and characters into it. And I think that, you know, it really goes along and piggybacks off what we're doing during our off season with our 48-hour play festival, where we are creating original works inspired by classics. Every spring we do a production as a fundraiser show that is often original work. For example, Shakespeare's Most Wanted by Dal Piccato and other such things. So we, you know, although we are a classical company, we are innovating and still, you know, trying to foster our local artists and their work as playwrights. Yeah.
So Evelyn, tell us about your experience photographing these shows.
Yeah, so I've been photographing for Silicon Valley Shakespeare for several years now, and I also do photographs for, I've done them for other theater companies as well, Northside Theater being another one. But this being the outdoor theater is such a different experience because lighting changes, right? You start a show at 7 and it doesn't look the same way as it does at 9:30. So just having to take into account, you know, visually, how do I keep the lighting that's represented on stage and balance it with what's going on with Mother Nature. And, you know, again, as with the actors, the elements outdoors. Some summers are really, really warm, and the bugs love to come out and play. And so, you know, it's just a matter of let's not catch a bug in the frame. But you know, every performance that I have photographed for Silicon Valley Shakespeare has just been visually very stunning, and so it's been a real pleasure to be able to capture the moments in the photographs. It's wonderful to be able to kind of just be able to see moments from these characters and then just find that snapshot and be able to bring it and deliver for these guys for their promotions and for, you know, just being able to share with the rest of the world, you know, what they're doing. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm privileged to be their photographer. I wish I could photograph the White Snake. I would selfie my way through the show if I could, but my husband Christian, who shot the photos for the promotion shots for the show, he will actually be shooting the photos for the White Snake.
Okay, very nice. We have a few minutes left, so quickly talk about the audience experience at Sanborn Park when they're seeing a show.
Sure. I mean, the thing I love about outdoor theater too is it just has this community vibe and this family vibe that I feel, you know, people get there early, they bring their picnic, right? They have a whole huge group of people, and I mean, oftentimes, you know, when I'm doing the raffle, I do a raffle at intermission. You didn't know this, but I'm also raffle girl, Nina. You know, people who come year after year and they're like, oh, you want our homemade cookies? And I'm like, yes, you know, this is so sweet. But I think it's because something about the environment and there's that community vibe that people feel open to doing that sort of thing that sometimes, you know, you don't get in an indoor setting. And also, I mean, you know, here we are in the heart of Silicon Valley where it's this hustle and bustle and go, go, go and tech. And sometimes you need to take a time out from that And I think, driving up the hill in Saratoga, it's not that far away. We're right by Saratoga Springs, but it's this little haven of a grove, and you walk across the bridge, right? And there are all these flags, with the past seasons, which once those get up, that's when I'm like, oh, it just got real, everybody. We're about to do a show. The bridge is up. And the twinkle lights. And, you walk in and you're just surrounded by these beautiful redwoods and the sound of the creek. And, so sometimes the things that are challenges of outdoors also are what make it extra special, I think. And there's just something not quite like it. I think every actor in their lifetime needs to try outdoor theater. Despite its challenges, I feel like it's a unique experience that is really special. And I think as an audience, what better way to spend your summer than to, be in the beauty of outdoors and
There's
enjoy.
something about it that really just grounds you.
Yeah.
Like it puts you kind of closer to the elements, and it just grounds you as not just as a performer, but as an audience member, as a photographer. Like there are moments where things are just so quiet and it's just peaceful. Like this is real. This is real. It's a very unique experience.
I think because there's a traveling process to get up there to Sanborn. I mean, it's only, a mile and a half from downtown Saratoga, but it does feel remote. And so because you have that journey at the start, it becomes almost like destination theater where you go and you know that you are there and you have to unplug because there's no cell phone signal. And so when you're really present, right? We don't, it's very rare for us to have that experience of someone's, like people's phones don't go off in the middle of it. You don't have people checking the sports stats on their phone in the middle of a performance. So having that destination experience in a way, like a mini one, is like a staycation.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Wonderful. Well, we have about a minute left, so let's recap for our viewers that Silicon Valley Shakespeare is performing Mary Zimmerman's play, The White Snake, from August 2nd through September 1st at Sanborn Park in Saratoga. And Angie, could you tell our audience where they can go online to get more information about the show?
Absolutely. Our website's easy to remember, www.svshakespeare.org. That SV is for Silicon Valley.
Great. Wonderful. svshakespeare.org. Peninsula Backstage is online also. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/peninsula-backstage. Like our page if you're interested in getting updates when new episodes become available for viewing. And I'd like to thank our guests from Silicon Valley Shakespeare, Angie and Evelyn and Melissa. And thank you to our viewers. We appreciate your watching this episode of Peninsula Backstage. And remember to go out and support local live theater.